as an independent entity within DOE with its own legal and financial advisors. In either case, the program must have loan volume that is commensurate with the size of the projects they may require credit support. If it is sound policy to support export of U.S. goods and services through the Export-Import Bank, which has $100 billion in loan guarantee authority at its disposal, surely it is also good policy, public policy, to support deployment of clean energy infrastructure in this country. And finally, as we've told you before, we simply must restructure and reorient the used fuel management program and place it on a path to sustainable long-term success. It's clear that any credible program to reduce carbon emissions worldwide will require a major expansion of nuclear. It is equally clear that such expansion is not sustainable if we continue on the course established by the federal government in the 1970s, the so-called once-through fuel cycle, in which used nuclear fuel is treated as a waste byproduct and sent away for permanent disposal, with about 90% of its energy still unused. Instead, we must undertake a long-term technology development necessary to demonstrate the technical and business case for reprocessing used nuclear fuel, extracting the materials that can produce additional energy, and recycling those fissile materials into existing light water reactors or advanced fast reactors. This would reduce the volume and toxicity of the waste byproducts that require permanent disposal. Since this technology development program is relatively long-term undertaking, and since above-ground used fuel storage, either at reactor sites or centralized facilities, is completely safe and secure, this removes any need to rush to construction of the Yucca Mountain facility. This integrated strategy, which we have talked about before, of development of advanced fuel cycle and eventually disposal of waste byproducts, when we know what the waste byproduct form will be, makes good sense from every perspective. It reflects a recognition that we have ample time to redesign the back end of the nuclear fuel cycle in a way that makes sense for the long term. It also reflects the political reality that neither President Obama or Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid support the Yucca Mountain project. We respect the political reality, of course, and need to move forward. We also think it would make sense to appoint a bipartisan blue ribbon commission of credible experts to evaluate the importance of the issue, undertake a reassessment of the federal government's program to manage used nuclear fuel, and produce a roadmap for a sustainable long-term program. We've been tracking public sentiment about nuclear power consistently since the early 1980s, and we're seeing record-high favorability. Clear recognition that nuclear energy is safe and important to America's energy future, and strong support for license renewal and construction of new plants. The support for new build is particularly strong among people living close to the operating plants, and as you know, many of the new plants proposed are at existing sites. This is the politics of nuclear energy, where public opinion is translated into action, where strong support outside the Beltway influences policies and drives decisions taken inside the Beltway. A few moments ago, I mentioned the strong support for nuclear energy we see at the state level. We are continuing and extending our campaign to mobilize that support. NEI and our member companies, utilities, and suppliers are encouraging state and local government officials and local business leaders to make their views known in Washington. We are working closely with organized labor on workforce development and on our shared policies and political objectives. In several states, Pennsylvania, Texas, New Jersey, and others, business leaders, academics, and former government officials have created grassroots organizations to build support for nuclear energy. Just 2 years ago, NEI formed a nationwide grassroots organization called the Clean and Safe Energy Coalition, or CASE. Its membership includes 800 organizations and over 1,000 individuals, many of them state government officials and other policymakers and opinion leaders. CASE is co-chaired by Patrick Moore, one of the founders of Greenpeace, and by Christy Todd Whitman, the former New Jersey governor and EPA administrator. Both have proven to be very effective advocates for nuclear power, both in Washington and across our country. We are also mobilizing our own employees. We are assembling all these diverse groups of people and pointing them directly at Washington. And we are confident that Washington will listen and respond appropriately because these groups and individuals represent the people that elected them. All politics is local, and there is nothing as powerful as constituent input. And so in conclusion, despite the economic and financial turmoil all around us, we feel confident in the future and hope in the present and hopeful about the future. We do not underestimate the challenges. We try to anticipate them and put in place programs to address them before those challenges become real problems to what we're doing with current plants or new plants. Our operating plants are on very solid ground, safe, reliable, and profitable. Our new plants can be financed and will be profitable, particularly in the not-too-distant future in which carbon emissions carry a cost. And we're confident that the new administration and the new Congress will ultimately size up our nation's energy, environmental, and economic challenges in a very realistic way and conclude that nuclear energy must play a key role in creating jobs, addressing climate change, and enhancing our energy security. With that, I'll close, and I'd be very pleased to take any questions that you may have. The question was how many designs are on the table right now and how many might get built. There's 5 designs right now that have license applications before the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Barbara's question is how many might get built. In the first wave, what we see clearly is the Westinghouse AP1000 has very strong support in the first wave, so we think that they're going to get built first. We also see that the EPR, the Economic Pressurized Reactor, which is an AREVA design, will probably move forward because of the involvement of EDF and AREVA with Constellation. So it's likely it may move forward. And the other one will probably be an advanced boiling water reactor. I think that what's going to happen after that is the other designs will continue to go through licensing and certification and could get built in the next wave. So I think the first wave, you do have some settling out, both because the utilities have times they need it and their choice of technology. Barbara's comment was, wouldn't we be better off if we only had 2? Only in America could I say we're committed to standardization and have 5 designs, and that's because it's a competitive capitalistic system, and people are looking for the best deals they can get. And that's why you have 5 designs going forward. But they will stay standardized within each design, and that will be a big help. Call. David, bring in your mic.
Thank you. I thought it was a great presentation, Marvin. A lot of good stuff in there, particularly your emphasis on doing something in Congress. I have been extremely disappointed with the loan guarantee program. I don't think the Department of Energy is the right place to have it. They don't seem to understand anything about finance any more than most of Congress does. But be that as it may, while most of Congress who voted yesterday for the, or voted for individually in Congress and in the Senate for their plans, apparently haven't read whatever the final bill is, because I don't think it's been written, but apparently the additional loan guarantee money that was in the Senate version didn't make the final cut. So while you are planning very strongly an effort directed towards Washington, it seems to me that something isn't getting through. And I wonder if you could comment on that and what you see as a potential future other than all these different groups that are